What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Verted Intro YouTube channel. This is the fourth episode of the quarantine tapes called The Kiss of Death. So today we're going to be reading out of Luke 22, which is the first part of Luke's account on the crucifixion story, where in the beginning he talks about the Last Supper, where Jesus and his 12 apostles celebrated the Passover together. They broke bread for the last time and they drank together for the last time. And then afterwards they went down to the Mount of Olives, where Jesus asked his apostles to hang out with him and basically stay up with him while he prayed to God. The famous prayer of, "Lord, take this cup away from me, but not my will, your will." And this is just a powerful prayer in my opinion, because it's something that obviously I think we should all be praying in this moment, is not my will but your will, because we all are in a sense kind of suffering because of the coronavirus, and it's something, and we've suffered in our lives, and we may be suffering because of something else, but in my opinion, it's suffering sometimes is a good thing. Obviously, if we weren't meant to suffer, God wouldn't want us to suffer. In a sense, it builds us up. Suffering is the reason why we can get through things and why we can learn of what happened in the past. It toughens our skin and it makes us stronger for what is to come in the future. And obviously the suffering that Jesus had to go through is what makes his story and what had to happen so much more powerful, because if he didn't suffer, then how would we have been saved? And it just shows that his saving was that much more powerful. So like I said, we're going to pick it up in verse 47, where Judas comes into play. And Judas is someone that a lot of us know about and a lot of us have heard about in the metaphorical state of the fact that he was a betrayer. A lot of people have dealt with Judases in their lives and are dealing with Judases in their lives. There's someone that has backstabbed them, has gone against them, has tossed them to the wolves, and a lot of us are actually the Judas in our life, in someone else's life, and that's obviously not what I'm going to talk about today, but it's something to think about, something to look in the mirror about and contemplate about. But like I said, we're going to pick it up in verse 47, where it says, "While he was still speaking, a crowd came up, and the man who called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He approached Jesus to kiss him." So like I said, this is one of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to the crucifixion story, when it comes to the life of Jesus, and when it comes to studying with people about Jesus and the crucifixion story, just how powerful this small little section is, and how many things we can talk about and pick at in this tiny section. One of the first things that comes to my mind is in Matthew 26:50, he calls Judas a friend. He says, "Come, do what you have to do, my friend." And obviously this is something that's powerful to me, and it might be powerful to you, is the fact that I know I wouldn't be calling Judas a friend if I knew he was handing me over to be taken to my death. I'd probably be calling him a lot different things, the complete opposite of a friend. And then another thing is how the compassion of Jesus and the love of Jesus, and how, if we continue in verse 50, he heals the man's ear of what Peter cut off. And if one of my boys cut off the guy who's arresting me's ear, I'd give him a high five and be like, "Let's go, let's bounce." Like this, they're distracted. It's our time to run off and be home free. But obviously this is not what Jesus did. Jesus rebuked Peter, basically told him that he was wrong, and then healed the man's ear because it was wrong, and the fact that Jesus knew he had to be arrested, had to be taken, and had to be put in trial in order for Peter to be saved, in order for the man to be saved, in order for us to be saved. And another thing that comes to my mind is the fact that he knew it was going to happen, but he didn't stop it. During the Last Supper, he even told the apostles, he was like, "Hey, there's a betrayer amongst you guys." And they basically fought about it. He was like, they basically said, "I'm not the betrayer, you're the betrayer," basically pointed fingers. Meanwhile, Judas knew he was the betrayer, and it was even also talked about in the Old Testament. The major prophets talked about it, many prophets talked about it, and Jesus knew that it was going to happen, but he didn't stop it. He knew that it was something that had to happen, had to be fulfilled. And for me, if I knew this was going to happen, I probably would have stopped it. If I knew I was going to be arrested and hung on a cross, I know for a fact I would have stopped it. And especially if I knew it was going to happen, I'd probably cut off that friend. I'd probably not even converse with that friend before he even became my friend. And then another thing that sticks out to me is the fact that he could have stopped it in general. Like, he is Jesus. He is the Son of God. He is God. He is the Messiah. He is the one who can bring down legions of angels to stop anything. Meanwhile, he didn't stop it. He knew that it had to happen, and it was something that had to happen in order for us to be saved, in order for him to fulfill all the prophecies, in order to be the Messiah, Son of God, and the sacrificial lamb for our sins. But like I said, that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the kiss of death. And if we go into Matthew 26, it kind of goes into a little more detail about Judas and what had to happen. And Judas basically tells the crowd that he's going to give them a signal, and that signal being the kiss on the cheek. And like this is what sticks out to me the most, is the fact that Judas needed a signal, needed a sign to show who Jesus was. He wasn't just an ordinary man. Or he was an ordinary man. He wasn't someone that stuck out in the crowds, because obviously, in a sense, we kind of think he does stick out. Like, we would think that he would be basically glowing. Anybody could stick him out, point him out. But obviously, this is not what happens. This shows that he was an ordinary man in ordinary flesh. And he looked like everyone else. He looked like me and you. He looked like the men of that time. And the fact that the crowd that came with Judas obviously didn't know what he looked like, and that's just so weird to think about. And it just shows that he was divinely mortal, and the fact that he wasn't glowing, like I said. And obviously, in a sense, he wasn't white, because obviously if he was white, he'd stick out like a sore thumb. But obviously that's not what we're going to talk about. It's kind of a touchy subject for some of us. And also, like I said, he didn't stick out like a sore thumb, and he could obviously came out with a halo on his head and wings on his back, basically pointing finger and basically zapping things the way they were supposed to. But he didn't. He came in the flesh. He lived in the flesh. And what sticks out so much to me is the fact that he suffered in the flesh. He looked like you and me, and he suffered like you and me, and he suffered for you and me. And like, that's what is so powerful to me, is the fact that he came in the flesh in order to defeat flesh. He came in the flesh in order to defeat death. And he could obviously, like I said, he could have came in a divinative form, but he didn't. He did it looking like you and me, and this is what's just so powerful and shows how much, shows the love and compassion of our God. And for me, this is something that sticks out to me, and it just is so powerful to think about. So, what the practicals I kind of want to leave with you guys today is the fact that read about Jesus. Read about how he was able to go out and save us from our sins, save us from our flesh. How he was able to wean his way out of crowds. Meanwhile, he was surrounded by thousands of people, and he just got done teaching them, but he was able to slip out of crowds. Just the sheer amazingness of that. Read the crucifixion story. Easter was just a couple weeks ago. See how he suffered for us. See what he had to go through in order for him to defeat death, in order for him to defeat sin, in order for him to become sin for us, in order for us to be saved. And like I said, we're living in a time of suffering and fear. Learn how Jesus was able to get through it. Learn what he did in order for us to get through this suffering. And remember that scars are a good thing. Suffering, in a sense, could be a good thing, in the fact that it makes us stronger. And in 1 Corinthians 10:13, the famous verse of God's not going to give us anything we can't handle. Just remember the fact that if God didn't think we could handle it, he would take it away from us. Trust in the fact that that would happen. And like I said before in the last time, is God wants us to know the playbook for our life, the Bible. He wants us to know it frontwards and backwards. And obviously we can't do it on our own. I didn't do it on my own, and I'm still learning, and I'm still constantly learning. I still mess up. I still fall. I still sin. I'm human, just like you. I mess up, and I own up to that messing up. I own up to that sin, and I learn how I can learn from that sin. And I encourage you to reach out to someone. Reach out to me, and I can set up a Bible study with you and talk to you about where you need to go, and how you can learn, and help you learn about the Bible and study it with you. So reach out to me, and I can definitely set something up for you, whether it be with me or whether it be with someone that I trust with my entire life and trust with who knows the Bible. So thanks for watching. Please like this video. Please share it. Share with, like I said in the last time, share with a friend, share with your family, share with an enemy. Spread some love in a time full of doubt and fear. This is a weird time, and this is no better time to learn about Jesus than now. So, as always, peace and love.